First of all, Deepak, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to our CIOs. In fact, there's some confusion in the minds of most people in terms of what is the difference between a CTO and a CIO. I had this problem with my young daughter. She said, she's a software engineer, and I said, oh, well, I'm part of the CTO organization. She said, Dad, no, I'm not part of the CTO organization. We're part of this new organization that deals with information. And I think this is the issue that we talk about today as we go forward, and we are looking at moving from 4G to 5G, right? And everybody talks about the transformational power of what is going to happen in terms of moving from 4G to 5G. And let me just give you an index in terms of the volume of information that is now going through our networks. 3-4 years ago, the average person consumed about 360 minutes of voice traffic in a month. That's what we call part of the ARPU, right? 360 minutes priced at whatever the rate is per month. And they used about a half gigabit of data for various and sundry uses on their smartphones, right? So that was the starting point. 3+ years later, 360 minutes of use has gone to 880 minutes of use by the average user per month. The average user now consumes almost 10 to 11 gigabits of data per month. That's going from half a gigabit of data, right? So you can imagine the tremendous amount of information that is now being generated. People throw out various statistics. They say that the amount of data that we churn out in a year presently is more than what has been generated in the last several thousand years of history. We took all of the history and the data that is generated up to now, and you look at the data that is generated in our 1 year, it would surpass all of that. So I think what is happening is a phenomenon that we call information overload. All right, and I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind as chief information officers, right, that are dealing with the splurge and explosion of data. Customers are saying that this whole notion of choice, you go and ask for coffee, right? The old days, you ask for coffee, you got coffee, right? Today, you go and ask for coffee, sir, do you want latte, latte mild, latte large, do you want espresso, do you want it with 2 shots, do you want it with 3 shots, and you got about 10 choices, and the poor guy is saying, just give me coffee. So we're in a whole new world where the explosion of data means an explosion of choices. And so consumers are asking our folks who manage this information and data, which basically says, please, make it simple for me. Now, one of the points that I keep saying is that simplicity doesn't mean lack of complexity. That's sometimes what we confuse. Now, if you got one of those watches that still use parts, right, not the ones that run on batteries, but the old-time watches, right, telling time, once you know how to tell time, right, is rather simple, right? You look at your dial and it tells you what time it is. But the complexity behind telling time is rather sophisticated, right? You open the back of the watch and you see all those moving parts. And I think that's a rather good analogy of basically saying, please, all right, simplicity does not mean the absence of complexity. And I think we have to learn in our age to marry this notion of complexity with simplicity and allow the user, the folks who have to make decisions on this information that is generated, easily accessible, easily usable, easily understandable, and in the language that we want. So I think one of the things that we have to deal with in our own land, country, which is rather unique and gives us some advantages, is the issue of what we call the language and the vernacular that we use. One of the things that we found in our networks is that when we were putting out SMSs, the old way of sending messages, only 30% of our consumers were actually using text messaging.
And the reason that they were using text messages was one, feature phone, is very hard to navigate text on a phone which has to be pressed 3 times for you to get the right alpha character, right, or a numerical character. And so it wasn't until the smartphone came where you had keyboards that mimicked a typewriter, if you will, that the ability to message started. And because of smartphones, your keyboards could now be switched on to use vernacular languages, Hindi and local languages. So I think this is an area that we have to increasingly be aware in our land when we talk about connecting the unconnected and connecting our rural folks. We have to understand that they use vernacular, all right? And so we need to make sure that in the simplification process, it's a very complex process to be able to get this translated into local language. There's a lot of work that goes on behind. So please understand that we must be very cognizant in terms of the simplification process to use native languages, all right? And so that is one thing we need to keep in mind. The second thing that we need to keep in mind is the ability to allow our consumers to be able to access this in a format that is readily available to them. And I think one of the things that we've seen in terms of an explosion is the handheld device, right, phones that we talk about, as the preferred medium of interaction for our consumers. So today, when we are looking at investments and when investors look at startups, one of the things that we say is that if it isn't mobility, don't talk to us. Because everything is now moving to a mobile environment. And so when we move over to a mobile environment, you have to understand that this form factor on a screen is important. So your messaging, right? You don't have the benefit of large screens with 56 diagonals and all of this sort of thing. You're going to have to deal. And the younger generation is getting used to the fact that they watch movies, they watch streaming video, and all of this sort of thing on a handheld. And we have to begin to say, how does the information that we present get packed, in fact, around such a small bit of information that they can interact with, communicate, and go forward. So simplification means ability to deal with the form factors that are emerging as the preferred medium of interface for our generation and the next generation. Now, one of the points that I talked about in terms of the explosion of voice, we were all pleasantly surprised, in a way, in terms of this explosion. What it means is that the average Indian still likes to talk, all right? And so we have to understand that voice is not going to go away. In fact, a mother who had a couple of months old infant said that the first word that her infant daughter learned was Alexa. Not Appa, not Amma, but Alexa. Because every time the father or mother came into the room, they said, Alexa, Alexa, Alexa. So the child, the first word it translated was Alexa. And so we're going to have to get used to this notion that voice interfaces are still going to be the preferred probable way of interacting, although our younger generation still continues to be very savvy in terms of texting and using of keyboards. But I think increasingly even they are moving towards a voice-activated, voice-driven. And so that really goes to the issue of simplicity. All right, we like to talk, we like our systems to understand what we're saying in the way we normally espouse it. So I think for those of you who are looking at startup, a voice-activated business, right, is big business. All right, especially if you can get it working in a vernacular, right? Because then you shorten the issue of the complexity of instruction theory. So again, complexity reduced to simplicity is a key factor for information folks to be dealing with. The next thing that I talk about in terms of CIOs having to focus on as we go forward is what I call aggregation. All right, there's far too many pockets of information that reside in sort of unoperable formats and structures, right? And so, as for example, in the telephony business, in the telecom business, what we find is that what we call the base station, which is the radio access part of our network, the software and the hardware that sits at the bottom of the cell tower, right, has information resident there. And you go to our switches, there's information resident there. And if you go to the router, there's information resident there. And if you go to our CRM, there's information resident there.
So there's information that is resident in so many pockets, and the point that we struggle with is how do we aggregate all of this to a way that we can begin to use what is now emerging as a very powerful engine for managing information, which is artificial intelligence. All right, and so artificial intelligence is now the ability to be able to monetize, manage, and drive decision making, because, as I said, it's getting far too complex for the average person to deal with the options that are available, the choices that are available, and the quantum of data that is necessary to make reasoned decisions. All right, so this is going to be a critical factor that we're talking about in terms of information, aggregating information from multiple sources, multiple formats, aggregating them, and to be then able to use all of that information in an integrated fashion, apply our metrics of artificial intelligence, deep knowledge networks, and neural networks, and everything else, and extract the types of information that we need. The next thing that I want to leave with you folks who are in the CIO business is that we have moved from using information to tell us history. We've moved from that, you know that, in our mainframes and everything else, to edge computing and all of this thing, to doing it real time. History to real time. Our decision makers are no longer just interested in real time. They are now interested in predictive analysis. Tell me what the next day, the next hour, tomorrow, the future is going to be. I used to remember, all our parents, before they started off on the journey, used to go to your local astrologer and say, please tell me, is it a good day, bad day? And should I start at 11 o'clock or should I start at 2 o'clock? All right? And the guy looked at the stars, he seemed to have his own metrics floating around, and he told you, oh, you want to get married? Oh, this is the girl you need to get married. This guy, he's bad news, please don't stay away. There was a management of information, right? Is it foretelling the future? Who knew, right? This is what you and I are now reduced to, right? Forget about real time, we have to be in the business of foretelling the future. And of course, what it means is that the more data points you have, the more accurate. Hopefully that's what they tell us, statistics tell us this, right? If you have more data points that are on a particular subject, the more accurate your predictive ability. So hopefully this will be one of the things that we talk about. So again, focus on the aggregation of data, the utilization of this aggregate data to be able to not only be historic, real time, but predictive. And finally, let me just say, is that you folks have to deal with a emerging issue, which is what we call privacy. Consumers are becoming increasingly sensitive about who owns this data. The Data Privacy Act will be coming out. They expect that in the winter session of Parliament, this will be done. I encourage all of you who are CIOs to become intimately familiar. It will have a major impact in terms of how information is owned, managed, and distributed, and actually operated on. So please pay attention what is going to emerge, but I would encourage you to ask the question, who owns this data and how do I monetize this data and where is it going to be distributed? We're talking about keeping it within the borders of our country because it makes it more secure, more accessible, and it allows us to monetize. So these will be significant challenges. It will have not only individual company impacts, but it will have national impact, because sovereignty of countries is now being determined by data control, information control, and the information that can be generated within our borders and outside of our borders and integrated. So integration now is just not only a local, national, but it's an international issue, much as we've learned in other lines of business. So again, I leave you with these thoughts. Think about it. Privacy is going to be a big issue that we need to make sure that customers in the future will have to learn to trust the people to whom they trust their data. And one of the things that you and I have to deal with as organizational keepers of our brands is to make sure that our brands are trustworthy. So, good luck. Have a great time together. Hope you folks will use your time here to not only network and enjoy yourself, but also thank you very much for being a part of IMC. We hope that you will continue to participate. We hope to have forums for this. Our respected DoD secretaries, and please come and talk to him. We need to know more from the information side of the business as well, because increasingly we know this is going to be a significant part of our business. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.